Welcome to U.S. News Source Channel. Nearly 750 Russian soldiers were neutralized during the day. More than 20 Russian military equipment destroyed. Offensive and defensive power of the Russian army is running out. Explosions occurred in critical areas of the Zaporizhzhia front. Violence of the operations in the key regions of the southeast is increasing. Intense clashes took place in the region, which is located at the intersection of important highways. Ships of the Russian Navy providing maritime communication are at risk. Important military equipment support is coming from England to Ukraine. Support provided by the countries began to determine the course of the war to a large extent. Most of the attacks on the territory of Ukraine are thanks to the support of the countries. Russia has now become confused as to what move it will take. Course of operations has been increased. Losses of the Russian army began to reach serious dimensions. Critical importance of international relations in war is revealed. Operations carried out on the fronts are challenging both sides. However, Russia is losing much more during the day. This is due to both strategic mistakes and insufficient military resources. As it is known, Russia has suffered its greatest losses since the beginning of the war due to strategic mistakes. This causes a decrease in the number of experienced soldiers and equipment on the fronts. Every day, hundreds of Russian soldiers and dozens of equipment are neutralized. According to the statements of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Ukrainian troops destroyed 8 armored combat vehicles, 4 artillery systems, 4 tanks, 1 aircraft, 7 vehicles and tankers of the Russian forces. In addition, nearly 750 Russian soldiers were neutralized in just one day. Russian losses in Ukraine are increasing day by day. This situation greatly reduces the defense and attack power of the Russian soldiers. In such a case, it becomes more difficult to achieve success from the operations. Moreover, it was reported that Russia sent troops to the fronts due to the alleged lack of equipment. Inadequacy of these soldiers causes these losses to increase even more and the emergence of bigger problems. Simultaneous operations on the fronts continue. Deputy Chief of the Main Operations Directorate of the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Brigadier General Alexei Hromov, stated that soon Russian forces will try to reach the administrative borders of Donetsk and may increase their offensive to advance to the left bank of Zaporizhzhia. He also stated that Russia will increase the number of soldiers to 1.5 million for reforms in the armed forces and create 20 new divisions in order to implement these plans, and that measures have been taken for this purpose. According to the statements, Russia is preparing for long-term conflicts and is targeting large-scale attacks. Their main purpose is to dominate the country. However, this seems difficult to achieve, because the Ukrainian troops are putting their whole struggle on the line. These unions, doing everything they can, make an effort to protect the territorial integrity. This time, strong explosions were reported on the Zaporizhzhia front. According to the latest news, loud explosions occurred in Melitopol, one of the key areas on this front. These powerful explosions were reportedly heard even in the district headquarters. Mayor of the district announced that a noisy morning had begun for the Russian troops and preparations for war were underway. It is estimated that these explosions may have come from Russian military points. Explosions were heard from critical Russian military points in this region before, and the Russian army suffered serious losses. Intense conflicts still continue in the region. One of the biggest reasons for this is the importance of the region. This region has a critical importance for countries due to its location. As it is known, there is an intersection of 2 highways in the region. This both connects important fronts such as the eastern and southern fronts, and advances to the territory of Russia. This causes the region to become an important logistics center. In this way, if the dominance in the region is achieved, the logistics flow of the Russian soldiers will be interrupted. If the Russian army, which has already suffered significant damage to military dispatch points, loses its control in this region, the bond between the 2 fronts will weaken. This will cause a significant reduction in firepower in operations. Moreover, remarkable explosions occurred in Berdyansk, another key region on this front. In this port area bordering the Sea of Azov, powerful explosions were heard. This situation caused panic by the Russian soldiers. Because the region is bordered by the sea, it is only a matter of time before the Russian Navy is at risk. As it is known, the ships of the Russian Navy providing maritime communication are in this Azov Sea. Progress of the Ukrainian forces in the regions bordering this sea also raises concerns about a possible naval attack on the Moscow side. Because as you advance to these regions, Russian military ships may also become targets. This will increase the losses of Russia, which has already suffered significant losses in the air and on land, at sea. Moreover, Russia is having a hard time compensating for these losses. Moscow, which has been dealing with inadequacies since the beginning of the war due to the sanctions imposed on the countries and the losses in the war, has difficulty even renewing its existing resources. On the contrary, Ukraine is getting stronger with the resources coming from the countries. Western support continues to come to Ukraine. With the new year, the amount of military equipment Ukraine will receive continues to increase. New military equipment decision came from England for Ukraine. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak confirmed the military equipment he will supply to Ukraine in a phone call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. British Prime Minister announced that Ukraine will be provided with the Challenger 2 tank and additional artillery systems. British news sources reported that 12 Challenger 2 tanks will be sent to Ukraine and the first armored vehicles will be transported immediately. It was also stated in the news that this decision will be announced clearly on Monday. After the meeting, President of Ukraine Zelensky thanked Sunak for his decisions to strengthen the Ukrainian armed forces on the battlefield. In addition, it seems that the only tank support to Ukraine will not be limited to this. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba made statements about the possibility of Ukraine getting Leopard 2 tanks. He also emphasized that the supply of these tanks to Ukraine depends on the decision of Germany. It was stated that some countries are ready to supply these tanks to Ukraine, but Germany's statement is expected in this regard. He set an example by stating that Finland is ready to supply a group of tanks to Ukraine, albeit small, if Germany accepts it. Germany's federal government is expected to make a statement on the supply of Western tanks in the next week. It is expected that Germany will make a positive decision regarding the supply of heavy tanks to Ukraine. Ukraine's defense is being strengthened with the support of Western countries, but some countries do not want to provide military equipment that could change the course of the war. Reversal of this situation is also effective in Ukraine's emphasizing the importance of the war to the countries and showing Russia's attacks as an example. In the long run, the support provided by the countries will enable the Ukrainian army to gain significant advantages. From now on, all the decisions to be taken and all the steps to be taken are of much greater importance. If the support from the countries is further increased, it will become much more difficult for the Russian army to achieve success in the fronts. This will ensure that the course of the war is fully in favor of the Ukrainian army. If Russia has to deal with more problems and losses, it will not be able to make any progress in the war. This will cause more casualties and more problems to erupt. If Ukraine is to achieve its goal in the war and to ensure its territorial integrity, such military support must be increased and sent. In these days when the violence of the war has increased considerably, all kinds of military equipment will make an important contribution to the war. Now all the steps taken and all the decisions to be made by the leaders are also important in the previous one. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.